Hello guys, welcome to the VAR show. So today we are going to talk about the UEFA Champions League first round of games. That was Valencia versus Atalanta and Tottenham versus RB Leipzig. So what happened in the second leg? So in Valencia versus Atalanta, Atalanta was winning 4-0 and from the first leg. So in the second leg, Valencia required a very big performance, but it was a possible one because it was in their own home ground. But matters were made difficult because due to coronavirus pandemic, the game was played behind closed doors. So Joseph Ilicic opened the scoring in the 3rd minute before Kevin Gramero scored in the 21st minute to level the scoreline. So now Valencia had to score, I think, around 5 or 6 to go out to win because Atalanta had got that crucial away goal. But matters were made further bad for Valencia when Joseph Ilicic scored his second from the penalty in the 43rd minute. But it was, a game of seesaw, like if you score, even I score. So Kevin Gramero equalized again in the 51st minute. And for the first time in the game, Ferran Torres scored in the 67th minute to put the home team front. But it was a Joseph Ilicic masterclass. It was his night. He scored again in the 71st minute and the 82nd minute, meaning Atalanta won the game 4-3 and advanced to the next leg in an aggregate scoreline of 8-4. So Atalanta had 41% possession in comparison to Valencia's 59. Shot-wise, Valencia had 16 shots with 6 on target and Atalanta had 11 with 5 on target and they scored 4. It was a very efficient match because almost both the teams scored at least from 50% of the shot on target. And expected goals had Atalanta at 2.72 and expected goals had Valencia at 1.89. But at the end, Atalanta qualified for the quarterfinals and it will be the first in the history and they are a joy to watch. And this is what Ale Moreno had to say about Atalanta.
It was fun to watch, yeah. For those of us neutrals, fantastic to watch. And Atalanta in particular, I would just say this. When they go up 2-1 in this game, and you really think, okay, at this point, maybe you just start knocking the ball around, maybe you just take it easy, you defend, you keep the ball in front of you, Valencia's never going to come back, and you just keep it at that. No. It's not in the personality of this team, so they just keep attacking, they just keep going after. Valencia goes up, you think, okay, well, maybe now we really have to defend a little bit better. No, we're going to get after you, and we're going to score goals, and we're going to win the game. It's fun to watch. I don't know if you can sustain that in the next round, but who cares at this point? If you're Atalanta and an Atalanta fan, you should be very proud of where you are and how you got to this point. Tremendous performance.
So that was Ale Moreno. So moving on, we had the second game. That was Rasenballsport Leipzig or RB Leipzig versus Tottenham. Leipzig had won 1-0 at London in the first round, in the first leg. And the second leg, Tottenham had to come out and score because they required to win by a huge margin because Leipzig had got the crucial away goal. So it wasn't like Tottenham had to win, it was like Leipzig had to win. And that was proved by when Marcel Sabitzer scored in the 10th minute and he again scored in the 21st minute. Yes, there were many players injured or Mourinho didn't have his full squad to pick from. But this is not a result what we expect from Tottenham, especially not from Mourinho, who is a veteran in terms of Champions League. So Emil Forsberg scored the final goal, which was also a nail in the coffin, although the coffin had been prepared long back. So he scored in the 87th minute to make it 3-0. So possession wise, Leipzig at 54% and Tottenham at 46%. Shots, Leipzig had 13 with 5 on target. Tottenham had 6 with 3 on target. Expected goals at Leipzig at 1.15 to Tottenham 0.31. So this is what Jose Mourinho had to say about the game.
Look, of course I was very positive yesterday, and that's the way I have to be all the time. If I'm not positive, it's better not to come to the game. So yes, I was positive. Yes, I motivate the players, and yes, we all believe. But we know that in this moment is very difficult. They are a very strong side, that scored for us was a penalty is hard. Then they come and our first couple of mistakes and they score and after that the game of course is very very difficult. Their physicality is very impressive. They have incredible physicality. The three defenders they win the duels. When they don't win it, they make falls with their physicality. They stop the game. Midfield very intense. The attacking play is very fast. So even when we have the ball and we cannot hurt people, we know that they can hurt us all the time. So of course they deserve to get through. They were the best team. But if I can be critical of some of my players with some mistakes that we did, I keep this for us, and I go to the globality, and they try to give what they can give, and that's it.
So that was Jose Mourinho. He didn't seem frustrated, but I mean, he seemed frustrated. He maybe wanted to complain about the squad, like he could not pick, and he has been frustrated for quite a while. Maybe Daniel Levy has to open the strings of his purse to get this Tottenham team above and make them play better maybe. So we have one more clip that we are going to play, that is from former Tottenham player Glenn Hoddle. So hear him.
Yeah, I think the lack of quality was there for everyone to see. There is quality out of the side at this moment in time. They're a better side. There'll be a better side next season. He's saying that with everyone fit, but there's no excuse when the opponents have got the ball. A team should be set up knowing what they're going to do, knowing how they're going to make themselves difficult, and knowing how they're going to win it back. And then players are allowed to go if they're going to play with their shape. So who's going to get in the box? I just think they're just bobbing along at the moment, hoping something's going to happen. Flat, and that's not the way to.
I think that's a great way to say it.
So that was Glenn Hoddle. So moving on to our second round of games. In the second round, the second set of fixtures, we had Liverpool versus Atletico Madrid. Liverpool were trailing by 1-0 from the first leg, where Atletico Madrid had won by 1 goal. And the second game was PSG versus Borussia Dortmund. Borussia Dortmund were leading from the first leg. So what happened? First we'll go to the Liverpool-Atletico game. So what happened in the game? It was a very, very tight game, intense game. A game where probably both teams could have won. I mean, you could make a case or an argument for both teams. But at the end, Atletico Madrid won by 3-2 and have advanced to the next round by an aggregate score of 4-2. So what happened in the game? Jorginho Wijnaldum opened the scoring for Liverpool in the 43rd minute. It was an amazing goal. It was a header. As usual, Jorginho Wijnaldum and headers in Champions League is not a new thing. So he opened the scoring before Roberto Firmino scored in the 94th minute. That was after the normal time. It was in extra time. The game had gone to extra time, and Roberto Firmino scored in the 94th minute. It was his first goal at Anfield this season, but the goal didn't last long because Marcos Llorente scored or pulled one back in the 97th minute when he capitalized on an Adrian error. So Marcos Llorente had come on in the 56th minute for Diego Costa, and he had a game of his life. He scored 2 goals and assisted one out of all 3 Atletico Madrid's goals. So Marcos Llorente again scored in the 106th minute before he assisted Alvaro Morata for the final goal of the game in the 121st minute. It was a very, very tight game, and I feel the one person who really stood out for the team or which decided the game was Jan Oblak. Amazing player. If he was not there, Liverpool might have qualified in normal time itself. Liverpool had 34 shots with 2 hitting the woodwork and 11 on target. Can you imagine? 11 on target, 2 hitting the woodwork. 7 shots were blocked. In comparison, Atletico had 10 shots with 6 hitting on target. So Jan Oblak has done an amazing job. Amazing. I can't even stress how important is you should go see. I think BT Sport has released a highlight, so you can go see Andrew Robertson hit the post in the 65th minute, and Roberto Firmino hit the post in the 93rd minute, which he scored. But nonetheless, it was a very, very tight game, and position wise Liverpool at 71.1 whereas Atletico Madrid at 28.9. So it was it was a very, very weird game in the sense it's not a weird game. If you follow Atletico Madrid, it's a very common game. They thrive in all this type of games. Liverpool had 16 corners to Atletico Madrid 3, so it is quite an huge difference about what the game was like. Both the teams were playing their particular game plan, and more on that I think Atletico Madrid were very, very successful in what they wanted to implement. They had a 1-goal advantage and they wanted to sit back and hit Liverpool on the counter, and they were successful to some extent. Although I would even go on to say, if Adrian would not have made that error, maybe Liverpool could have qualified. I'm not sure. It could not have, but that changed the momentum of the game totally on its head. So moving on, we'll now hear from Jurgen Klopp, who was a bit animated about the style of football Atletico Madrid played. So here is Jurgen Klopp.
Jurgen, that must feel like a really brutal outcome when you did so much good work and so much hard work.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was searching for the right words, to be honest. Our main mistake was probably to score the second goal 5 minutes too late. So we scored it in extra time and not during the 90 minutes. And the 90 minutes were exceptional. The stuff we played here was incredible. We all know how difficult it can be against Atletico, but the boys played a wonderful football game. Yeah. We scored a second goal, and then, come on, it's like it is. We saw all the goals we conceded. Should not concede these kind of goals, but you lose the game always in a specific way. They're always different, but tonight, it's difficult to explain these goals, to be honest, but it's like it is. And the boys fought hard. The stadium was an incredible performance. I only can say thank you to everybody for this incredible ride in the Champions League, since we are part of it again. And we will come again and go again, but now for this moment we are out.
They're that kind of side. They wait for a mistake, they punish Adrian's misplaced pass, and then suddenly everything changes.
Yeah, but that's clear. Look, 2-1 is not cool, but of course it's a blow in a moment. But it was not that big problem. The second goal obviously was a much bigger problem, because then it's not all over. We have still 20 minutes or so to go for scoring 2. We tried, but of course the legs were now a bit tired. We didn't have all what looked really natural, and in the first 90 minutes, maybe in the first, I don't know exactly when we conceded the first goal, what looked really natural becomes then a bit more stiff, and it's like, okay, we have to do this. The crosses have not the same quality anymore. We wanted to have first time crosses, so first touch crosses. That's how we scored the first goal. That was brilliant, and you don't have that then anymore. The boys forget then to use the right things. It's just because it's so intense, and you do always and try. That's it.
Does it feel like a sucker punch, though, the whole night?
Yeah. Of course. So I hope now, I didn't ask actually, nobody told me yet. I hope they're all fine and all fit, and we will go again, how I said. But I'm completely happy with the performance. Wow, that's what can I say? It's so difficult to play a side like that. I don't understand with the quality they have, to be honest, that they play this kind of football. I don't understand that. But it's right. The winner is always right. And when I see players like Koke, Saul, Lorente, the players they could play proper football, and they stand deep in the side and in their own half and have counter-attacks. But okay, they beat us, so that's how it is. And we have to accept that. We accept that, of course. It's no problem. So congratulations to Atletico. But it doesn't feel right tonight, to be honest. I realize I'm a really, really bad loser. And especially when the boys put such an effort in a game and play just look against world-class players on the other side, defend with 2 rows of 4 and 2 strikers in front of them. They didn't even have counterattacks in over the 90 minutes, so that was just brilliant. But in the end, we have to accept that we lost it anyway. We conceded 3 goals, which is really crazy. But it's normal. The game can develop like this. We knew that before. We know that in our last 2 years we had some lucky moments in the Champions League as well. That's clear. You need that to go twice in a final. Today it was pretty much everything against us in these decisive moments, and so that's how it happens. But again, I'm really proud of the boys.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So that was Jurgen Klopp, who was a bit animated and probably didn't like losing, almost like who likes losing, but still qualifying for 2 back-to-back Champions League final and winning one and being in such a tight, good position in beginning of not this season, but even in January, like they were being touted to complete a treble and win possibly all the trophies they compete in, but that's not the reality. You kind of lose some and you kind of win some, and definitely if they win the Premier League and Jurgen Klopp breaks the Premier League drought of 30 years, he is going to go into the history books, and he has already gone down to the history books what he has achieved at Liverpool. So moving on, we also have a clip of Kieran Trippier, who also played against Liverpool in last year's Champions League final, and which he lost. But this year he played for another team, that is Atletico Madrid, whom he was transferred to in the summer, and here is what he has to say.
Kieran, that was an astonishing turnaround.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be very difficult, even with the lead before the game. Liverpool are a fantastic side, but we just needed to, stick defensively strong, keep our shape and try and frustrate Liverpool as much as we can. We knew we'd get our chances if we break the press of Firmino, Mane and Salah. But we kept on believing, we kept on going, and we got the win.
Because there were times you looked like you were on the ropes, but they had chances.
Yeah, of course, we knew that before we come here. Liverpool are very strong at home. I played them in Premier League so many times, and we just needed to stick together, keep our defensive shape, try and frustrate them as much as we can. And we knew we'd get our chances, and it's just about being clinical in that moment, and we sure was tonight.
Diego Simeone's sides, they don't give up, do they?
No, never give up. The way we play is the way we train. Mister, every single day in training. You see him on the touchline, he's like this in training. It's a joy to work with him and to learn off him, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here.
Yeah, and it's a really classy defensive performance, the way you just sort of wait and then come at the end of the game.
Yeah, you see Atletico over the years, how defensively strong they are. And we're showing that again tonight, even though we went 1-0 down, but we just kept our composure, stayed defensive, kept our shape. And we knew our chances would come if we break the first press, and we've done that tonight. But, the substitutions who come on made a big impact, and, subs are so important.
These are the kind of nights that you made the move to Atletico for.
Yeah, obviously it was a difficult year for me last year. I knew I needed the change, and I didn't want to come to the end of my career and regret not going abroad. And when a club like Atletico come in for you, you can't say no. I'm loving my time here. I'm learning new things every single day, and hopefully I'm here for many years.
With this kind of crafty side and with this kind of quality, do you think you could go all the way?
You don't want to look too far ahead, obviously. There's some fantastic teams still in the competition, but we just need to focus on ourselves, keep believing like we did tonight, and who knows what happens at the end of the season.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
So that was Kieran Trippier, and so now we'll move on to our second game. It was PSG versus Borussia Dortmund. Borussia Dortmund had the lead from the first leg by 2-1, but PSG had the away goal advantage. It was also Thomas Tuchel who's going back to Dortmund to play a game. He left probably on not a good terms. So what happened in the game basically was it was for me, I felt it was a one-way traffic, in the sense that PSG players just wanted that a little bit more than the Dortmund players. Maybe it is because of the know-how and the experience they have in the squad. It was amazing. Neymar played amazingly well. He opened the scoring in the 28th minute from a diving header from Angel Di Maria's cross before Juan Bernat poked home probably which is the winner in the 46th minute. Neymar completed 6 dribbles and had 2 key passes and scored 1 goal. That's amazing performance from the Brazilian. So what happened in the game was even Emre Can received the red card in the 89th minute because of off-field brawl. And in terms of shot wise, it was quite even. In fact, it was leaning towards Dortmund more. Dortmund had 11 shots with 2 on target, whereas PSG had 8 shots with 4 on target. You can just see the statistics and say like how PSG players wanted it more. Like they had 20 tackles to Dortmund's 12, but some stats even show that the minimum Dortmund should or could have received from this game was an extra time and a goal. So nonetheless, that is not how football works. Football is not does not work in an ideal world, and there are a lot of ifs and buts and this and that. So PSG qualify for the next round, Liverpool are knocked out, and Atletico Madrid qualify for the next round, and now Liverpool can solely concentrate on the Premier League, which is already wrapped up, and probably that will be the only trophy this season, excluding the other two, that is Club World Cup and Super Cup, which was of the last season. So, and Atalanta and also qualified due to yesterday's game, and Leipzig also qualified from yesterday's game. So this was it from this week's Champions League fixtures. So I will see you in the next Champions League fixture that will be next week, which will also be a very, very, very lip-smacking ties and lot of criticism, lot of punditry from everyone before the lead up to the game, because it's Pep versus Zidane. It is an amazing. Zidane has won it 3 times. I mean, it is just like such an amazing game to watch and to be, part of at any level. Maybe if you're playing, maybe if you are not playing. Of course, like many games like the PSG Dortmund were played behind closed doors, and it goes on to show like how big importance or how big important factor fans are. Like, for them, without fans the game is nothing. So on that note, I will leave and I will see you in the next video. Till then, take care and bye.